Welcome to the Weightlifting Scoop. This is Travis Cooper, and we got Glenn Pendlay here.
Hello.
And we're going to interview Dean Kruse and Morghan King. So these are just two new lifters on the team. Morghan King is what weight class are you? We're not really sure.
I'm going to be hopefully 48, but normally a 53.
Okay, well that's why are you cutting to 48?
In hopes to make the world team.
Did you, just for the benefit of the listeners, what was your normal walking around weight when you came to Muscle Driver?
I was about 51.5.
So you were maintaining that weight without really dieting or anything.
Right.
How has the cut gone for you so far?
It's been a little tough, but I'm just eating healthier, pretty clean, and so we'll see how the rest of this week goes.
Well, do you feel the effects at all yet in your training?
Not so much yet. I've been lifting pretty well. I think cutting all the crap out has helped, and my lifts haven't really gone down at all.
Last week you made a PR clean.
Yes.
And the week before you made a PR snatch.
Yes.
So I would say that you're not getting weaker so far.
No, not yet.
That's good. How, in general, how much have you changed, and how do you like the training here?
I like being able to just train. When I was up in Seattle, I had another job, and so having to kind of balance both of them was a little tough. So here has been awesome that I can just go home, relax, come back to training, go hard, and do it over and over.
Anything in particular that's changed in your training? I know we tried to keep you on roughly a similar program than when you got here, because you only got here, 3 weeks before Nationals?
Yeah.
So obviously you didn't want to totally change everything that close to Nationals. And we stayed on the same squat program pretty much that you're on before.
Yep.
So, what do you think in the training, or training-wise, has been the biggest difference between 4 or 5 weeks ago in Seattle or here?
I think I've been doing a little bit more volume, and kind of just getting really, really comfortable at heavy weights all the time. I would usually at home get up to a heavy weight and stop, whereas here it's been, add maybe a couple kilos and kind of stay 90% and above more.
How have you felt run down, or is your body handling that pretty well?
I think I've actually handled it pretty well. I think being able to just lift has also helped it. I'm not on my feet all the time like I was in Seattle, and so. So
what are you? I'll put you on the spot here. What are your nationals?
Oh God, I really want to do 70-90. 160 is a good total. And
what's your best competition total? Is it 53?
58.
58. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
158.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, if it was 58, you probably would.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be going to nationals.
We'll call it 158. Dean says 158 back here.
I don't know if that's a competition total, if that's a training total, but I'm pretty sure.
So basically, you just showed up. You've only been training with us for 3 weeks, and you have an opportunity to make the world team. That's pretty awesome. How did you get to this point? I know you trained with John Thrush a little bit, but Dean is obviously your main coach. What was it like training with them two?
I've gotten to be able to do a bunch of different styles of program.
Should we have Dean leave the room so she can be honest?
I need to hear. She's honest all the time. Anyway.
No, I think every time we've done a new cycle, I've gotten to kind of try a different style. This last one that we've been doing was a little bit more aggressive, I think, than the others. We did one of John Thrush's, what was it, the Calpian?
Yeah. It was like a segment training, waves going up and coming back.
Yeah, so we did a lot of percentages at that point, kind of gearing up towards one of the meets that we did down in Sumner.
Do you know that John Thrush wrote for me the first actual training program that I ever used back in like 1990. I don't know, in the 90s.
Oh, crazy.
I had just fooled around a little bit on my own. But when I actually finally kissed powerlifting goodbye and said, yeah, I want to train like a weightlifter, as a weightlifter, I corresponded through email with him. And he actually wrote me a program with weights and everything. I gave him, what my current maxes were and various things. And it killed me. I mean, that was my first exposure. But yeah, I remember the waves up and down, and usually the second wave ends like 2.5 kilos higher than the first wave,
right,
or something like that. Of course, it was all 2.5 and 5 kilo increments then, because that's the weights. That's how we did it then. There weren't 1 kilo plates or half kilo plates. You said you're sorry?
I said that's funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, you had your 1.25 kilo plates, 2.5 kilo plates, 5 kilo, and on up. That was it.
It was like that all the way to 2005. Did they change that because of women's weightlifting mostly?
I do believe that it was changed in particular because of women's weightlifting, because it was felt that, 2.5 kilo jumps were, of course, you got, the standard, for women's weightlifting, especially for people that weren't going to the Olympics. I mean, it was much more common to see 60 kilo snatches and whatnot. And obviously a 60 kilo snatch, 2.5 kilo jump is a hell of a lot bigger percentage jump than for a guy that snatched 150. And so they changed that. As I remember, all the talk around that was because of the inclusion of women and trying to make it reasonable jumps for people that lifted less weight. But I remember that I hadn't done a ton of full-on weightlifting training before that, and I had included power cleans, and because for a while I'd had an idea that I wanted to switch to weightlifting for a while, and so I'd done power cleans and push presses and this and that. But that was my first actual weightlifting only cycle, and I just remember, at the end of like a week or 2 weeks, just being, oh my God, my lifts are all down 20 kilos. So no fault of the program. It was just a very rapid introduction to weightlifting training, and it absolutely killed me. So,
for those that don't know, Thrush coach Melanie Roach, who was one of the best weightlifters in the U.S. ever. She was a 53 kilo lifter, also like Morghan has traditionally and will in the future be. And she was the world record holder in the clean and jerk in the mid-90s, is my understanding. Is that right?
I do believe you're right about that. I think she was
113 in 1998 or something.
She was, I believe, the first and one of the few to this day women that clean and jerk double body weight.
She's the American record holder.
Yeah, she's the American record holder, but she was the world record holder in 1996 to 98, somewhere in there, before women's weightlifting was in the Olympics. So obviously being in Seattle, getting to train with him, it was a good opportunity. I mean, you're 53. That's what he specializes in, was basically coaching Melanie, so that's pretty cool. And
he coached Dean Goad.
Yeah.
And Dean Goad never made the Olympic team. He was very close on a couple of different Olympics, and he was one of the more awesome 85 kilo lifters. Right, Travis? 85. One of the more awesome ones to watch. I don't know why, but I always really enjoyed watching Dean for whatever reason. I think he was a mid-80s clean and jerker, something like that. But an exciting lifter to watch for sure. Nice guy too.
So speaking of Dean, let's get Dean Kruse on here. This is the
not Dean Goad.
Yeah.
Big distinction.
So what weight class are you, Dean?
I'm currently in between the 85 and 94. Hopefully, going to be a full 94 soon.
Yeah, so you're pretty tall. What's your height?
Just under 6'1".
Okay, yeah, so you'll probably end up being a 94, maybe even a 105 one day, but obviously it's going to take time. It's a process.
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
So what are your best lifts?
So far, 125 on the snatch and 151 on the clean and jerk.
Okay, nice. So you were kind of the coach up in Seattle. So you were coaching your weightlifting team and Morghan as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't really a serious weightlifting team. A lot of people took it as like their activity after work, and it was real fun. But Morghan definitely, obviously, as you guys have seen, has a lot of potential to lift weights, and so, yeah, I mean, she was lifting 6 days a week.
So now, did you just start dating Morghan so that you could coach her and get credit and get your like level 3 coaching certification?
That's it. And once I do, we're done.
Damn.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. Actually, we met. My best friend was dating her best friend, and that's how we met, and that was a long time before I found out she was an incredible athlete.
So it's not all for procreation later on. It's
no, but that's part of this. That's part of the story.
Well, that's an important consideration, especially for a guy. You want boys that are going to be great athletes. And so you got to pick and choose when it comes to, the whole mating thing.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. And I think I chose well so far.
The only drawback.
We're going that far. Let's move on right now.
The only drawback is she is pretty short.
Morgan has her head in her hand. She's kind of laughing, kind of crying that this is on air right now.
Yeah. Well, you may end up with a son that's a great athlete, but he's 5'1". He's never going to make it in the NFL.
Not in the NFL, but
Coach, that's the
weightlifting's
point.
growing in this country, and I think most weightlifters are under the height of 6 feet, so that's not so bad.
You want to procreate so that they can't play any other sports but weightlifting. It's part of the deal.
Yeah, I guess you might look at it that way, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that, how is your training? Were you training along with Morgan and doing the same program she was, and how has training here affected you so far?
Well, my training in Seattle started a couple years ago, and I was actually coaching a class that was based off of your 3-day-a-week program, where it was squatting, back squatting Mondays and Fridays, and front squatting on Wednesdays. And so that was the class, and then Morgan was doing that, and she was obviously excelling, and I was trying to do that program, but it was tough to coach and lift at the same time, and so I didn't actually pick up my training until probably December of last year, and that's when I kind of got serious with weightlifting. And then coming here, obviously the volume increased, and that was the first couple of weeks were real tough, but I think I'm starting to adapt to that.
Have you hit any PRs since you got here?
Today I PR'd. I lied to you. I said that I had a 110 kilo power snatch. I think that was just for my personal to get my confidence level up to go ahead and try to PR. But I PR'd my power snatch by 4 kilos with 111 today.
Well, that's super. That's better than the one I thought it was, for sure. What
It makes it more exciting.
Yeah. Have you made any other PRs since you got here?
Not on the snatch and the clean and jerk, although I feel like I'm really close on the snatch to PRing. My shoulder's been hurting me a little bit, so pushing that has been tough. But I feel like in the next couple attempts at max effort for snatch, I'll definitely hit a PR snatch. And then the back squatting has definitely gotten better.
So you think that the first 2 weeks here you're kind of dead, and then you're starting to pull out of it?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to catch my stride. Moving across the country was, it wasn't like super hard for us, but it also had its challenges. And so, trying to gather your life up and restart here, and then jump into how many training sessions we have, about eight a week was kind of tough. 9 actually, but who's counting? Yeah, I don't count that high. 9 a week, that was tough. But I think, like I said, we're starting to get in a groove. We're starting to get settled down. I think it'll be great in the next couple of weeks.
No, it's pretty normal when somebody comes that, they may even do really well the first week, but somewhere around 7 to 10 days or even shorter, the little higher volume, the more training sessions per week, and they start to get underwater, and then it takes a week, 2 weeks, however long to kind of fight out of it, and then they start doing well again. So it seems like you're kind of following that reasonably closely. I wonder who your coaches have been. Who's the main person that's kind of coached you?
Honestly, John Thrush is, I would say, the person I sought hands-on training from, but a lot of the knowledge that I gained was off the internet, as I feel like most CrossFit coaches gain their knowledge. I think a lot of it came from these kind of podcasts. I was listening to Weightlifting Talk, and I was going on your blog, and I picked up a lot of tips and tricks from there. And that was kind of how I got started and maintained and pushed through. But I think, like I said, John Thrush was definitely a big influence, and he helped me quite a bit technically. Also, it's funny to mention, you came up in conversation one time, and he goes, Glenn Pendlay, yeah. He goes, I taught that guy everything he knows. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, you know, there isn't a grain of truth there. I mean, I did talk to John a lot when I started coaching.
Yeah.
And he was very helpful. He along with, you know, a lot of other coaches that I sought out, you know, when you know you need to learn, you know, you go to people that are producing lifters, you know, that are producing the best lifters and try to learn from those. And John was one of those guys, and he definitely influenced me.
So did you guys come from a CrossFit background? Well, obviously you were coaching at a CrossFit gym, but did you start out doing CrossFit or?
Yeah, that's how I was introduced to weightlifting. I had, honestly, I think like most people, I didn't know the distinction between weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman. Like weightlifting was weightlifting. You're in the gym, whether it's you're doing bench press or you're doing, you know, back squat. That's weightlifting. And then I was actually introduced to the sport of weightlifting. The first time I was introduced to it was not at the CrossFit gym. The CrossFit gym wasn't really that. They didn't have that particular specialty. But going to John Thrush's gym down in Sumner, Washington, and that was a dedicated weightlifting gym, and it was on a Saturday, and I was one of 3 people in there, and it was really cool. It was definitely, that was definitely the moment that I really picked up weightlifting and wanted to do it.
Being from a CrossFit background, do you sometimes call it Ole lifting?
I think because I'm around so many people that call it that, yeah, but Olympic weightlifting or just weightlifting. Most people don't understand what you say when what you're talking about when you say weightlifting, but I think you have to qualify it with Olympic weightlifting, and then you get shortened to Ole lifting. And some people call it Ollie lifting, which doesn't make any sense to me, but I hear that.
Well, that's good to know that it doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to me either. What about you, Morgan? Do you call it Ollie lifting?
No. I have called it Ole lifting, though. It's just so hard to say the whole thing.
Or you could just say weightlifting.
Yeah, and then people don't know.
Yeah, I know.
They think you bodybuild.
That's like my pet peeve. I don't like the Ole lifting. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just jumping on the bandwagon of CrossFit haters. But whatever. But you're right. When you say weightlifting, what actually bothers me more than the whole Ole lifting or whatever, what bothers me actually more than that is when you read like more mainstream, you know, fitness type stuff, and they say weightlifting. They don't mean weightlifting. They mean doing curls.
Right.
Or whatever. And that's weight training. It's not weightlifting. So I know it's a weird little pet peeve, but that's my pet peeve. So are you guys pretty much done? You've got an apartment. You're settled in.
Yeah.
I know you got internet recently.
No.
No internet still?
No, that's a struggle.
It's hard when someone doesn't have credit. They don't own a credit card, so they can't really do anything.
Yeah, I pay in cash mostly, and so most internet companies want me to pay cash every month, and so that's been pretty tough. So we're gonna get that figured out tonight, hopefully.
Neither of you own a credit card.
Oh, I do.
Oh.
But I'm tired of paying for things.
Damn.
Well, that's not exactly the full. That's not the truth. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
All right, well, before we get a huge fight on air, we need to go ahead and end this. But this is Morgan King, 48/53, and Dean Kruse, 85/94/105, lifter in the future.
And I'll do one last question, and then we can sign off. Morgan, so do you make Dean sandwiches?
No, he makes the weirdest sandwiches ever. He thinks that honey with, eggs and...
What? No.
Yeah.
No, I made a honey salmon tomato sandwich.
Smoked salmon
Smoked
at that.
salmon.
That just sounds freaking gross.
It's disgusting. He has no palate.
Well, okay. I don't even know what to say to that, but
I make
He's trying to gain weight.
The point is, I make my own sandwiches. Doesn't matter if they're gross. They taste good to me. She doesn't make my sandwiches. Make my own sandwiches.
all right, that was the most important question of the interview, and I think with that we'll have to probably sign off.
All right, check us out on Twitter at WLiftingScoop, and check out for our new videos coming out.